All right, let's bring in our guest this hour, national trial attorney Michael Jaafar. Good to see you again, my friend. Big case Mike, of course. Michael, it seems like we are nearing the end of the Lori Daybell saga, 3 trials later. But on this particular trial right here, what do you make of these closing arguments? What do you make of the prosecution's case as a whole, despite relying heavily on the circumstantial evidence? It seems like they presented some witnesses that brought forth some investigative facts that almost seem like they can't be disputed. What are your thoughts? Oh, Michael, I think you're muted, my friend.
Dude, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good, man. It's all good.
So look, I think the jury will make the reasonable inference that Alex Cox was involved because he's Lori's henchman, right? But this case is full of holes, right? But saying that Lori Daybell actually ordered the hit on Brandon Bedreau, that's going to be a major leap. But then again, Lori Daybell defended herself. She has an idiot for an attorney, right? So if she gets convicted, I won't be shocked. But any junior associate, young public defender would have diced this case 6 ways to Sunday. I wish I had an opportunity to take a case like this when I was young. You know, I was living with my parents when I was a first-year, second-year attorney. I would have crawled over broken glass to take a case like this. What, be on court TV, defend a person, and win a murder case? I would have lived off that for the rest of my life. I've been an attorney for 19 years. I would have lived off this for the entire 19-year duration. So the fact that she represented herself kind of doesn't shock me. I mean, this is, again, a person who murdered her own children. She's a narcissistic psychopath. She's not logical. She has an idiot as an attorney. So for that reason, I think the state might actually win this case. They might actually get a conviction. If we just think about it, that's crazy because there's no direct evidence that Lori had any involvement with the attempted murder of Brandon Bedreau. I mean, he was her nephew-in-law. Right? So there was a complete emotional distance. But I won't be shocked if she gets convicted. If she had competent attorneys, I would bet my house that she would get acquitted. But it's all up for grabs at this point.
Great points made there, Michael. And now I'm just imagining 19-year-old Michael Jaafar crawling over that glass trying to be on court TV. All right, folks.
I would have done it, man.
Folks, let's head back into court. All right, let's bring back in our guest this hour, national trial attorney Michael Jaafar. Michael, I just want to roll off some quotes that Lori said during her closing argument. She said, "There's no defense to something somebody didn't do." Then she also went on to say, "No agreement, no plan, no game." So Lori went through all this trouble to represent herself. She was exhibiting all this emotion while giving her closing argument. We saw her lugging that massive briefcase in every day as she was representing herself. Why do you think she didn't at least try to put up a fight by presenting her own defense case or at least taking the stand?
Because she's on brand, and her brand is that of being an idiot, right? It's completely illogical. Look, whenever you watch movies when there's like a stunt, there's a warning at the end of the movie, in the beginning of the movie, that says, this is being done by a professional, trained professional. Don't try to imitate at home, for a reason, because you shouldn't try to do these stunts, right? Same thing should happen before trials. So to answer your question is, because she's on brand, right? I was asked earlier in the week, do I think Lori Daybell should take the stand? I said yes. And you can see why now, because her closing argument was essentially testimony. She could have taken the stand and testified as a narrative and said everything she wanted to say, and the prosecutor wouldn't have been able to object to any of it. Well, you can't do that in a closing argument when none of this stuff has been introduced. And yeah, she's not an attorney, but she knew that she couldn't say any of those things in a closing argument. This is like her second trial in that state where she defended herself, right? So I don't feel sorry for her at all. But to answer your question, she's on brand. This is her brand, and she deserves to be convicted. If she gets convicted, this would be the easiest case to win as a defense attorney, that you get a conviction and she would only have herself to blame.
I can't really argue with you there, Michael. You know, also earlier today, we had that FBI cell phone analyst on the stand talking about all these different phones, the cell phone movements, Lori and Alex's phones that, you know, were actually part of a network. And then we had that track phone, and then we heard prosecutor Trina Kay referencing it just now in the rebuttal. Do you think that analyst's testimony was kind of slam dunk testimony? Because what the prosecution is alluding to and what he kind of corroborated is that the 2 phones belonging to Lori and Alex were back in Rexburg as this track phone, presumably held onto by Alex Cox as he was allegedly carrying out the shooting, was moving around Arizona. Do you think his testimony kind of just put the nail in the coffin for Lori in this case?
Yes, 100%, 1,000%. It showed that Alex and Lori were moving in silence. That's exactly what it showed. And there was no fight on the other side. Again, even a young junior associate would have diced up that testimony, because really all you're trying to prove, if you're a defense attorney defending Lori Daybell, is, well, what does my client have to do with it? And how did she know that he was going to go there and do that? Who knows what he was going to do? But because of she didn't do that, the answer is yes, 1,000%. That absolutely was a nail in the coffin for her. I like the way you framed it.
Well, I appreciate that, Michael. And always thanks to you for sticking around and being with us tonight. We'll see you next time.